In this video, we're going to learn how to use the directive NgIf. With NgIf, we can dynamically display something in the template according to a condition. For example, if we have an array of movies, I want to say something like, if the array is not initialized, then I want to display a loading GIF, and if the array length is equal to 0, then I want to display a message like, there are no elements to display, and if the array have one element or more, then I want to display the list of movies. We can do that with NgIf. Let's see an example. Let's go to Visual Studio Code and let's go to the class of our component, and I need a function that will execute immediately after we instantiate our component. So for that we can use the onInit lifecycle method. We are going to study the lifecycle methods of components later in this section, but for now, what you need to know is that the onInit lifecycle method executes right after we instantiate a component, and we can use it to prepare our component for execution. So let's implement the interface control dot here, and now we have this NgOnInit method here. I will delete this, and I will cut this, and I will say movies equal to this array of movies, and let me organize this. And now I want to use a set timeout. I want to use a set timeout because I want to simulate the time that we have to wait in order to receive the list of movies from a database, which is what we're going to do in the future, but for now we're just going to do a simulation. So let me say set timeout 1000, and I will cut this and paste it here. So as you can see, the set timeout has two parameters. This parameter is the time that we have to wait in order to execute this function that we have here. So now let's go back to Google Chrome and let's see this in action. Now as you can see, if I refresh the page, we don't get immediately the list of data. In order to visualize this better, let's put here 3 seconds. And now as you can see, definitely we have to wait 3 seconds before we are shown the list of movies. Now it's really boring to have a white screen, so what we're going to do is that we're going to look for a loading GIF. So let's go to Google and let's say loading GIF images, and I will take this, I will click on here, and I will click on here and right click, copy image address, and I will go back to Visual Studio Code, image, src, and I will paste the URL of the GIF, and I will close this, and now we have this loading GIF, so we can save, and let's go to Google Chrome to our Angular Movies tab, and as you can see we have the loading GIF, and we have the list of movies. I want to display the loading GIF only if the list of movies is undefined. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to use an NgIf. So let me say here NgIf, and I will say movies, and I will negate this, of course, because what I want to say is that if the movies variable is falsy, which means that in this case it is undefined, then the negation of falsy is truthy, which means then that if movies is undefined, we want to display the loading GIF. Because if we go here, you are going to see that we are only initializing the movies property inside of the set timeout. So before the execution of that set timeout is that we're going to display this image. Now when we have the movies array with elements, then this ng4 is going to execute and it will display the movies. So let's see that. Let's go back to Google Chrome, and as you can see we have the loading GIF and then we get the list of movies. We can refresh one more time and see that we get the loading GIF and then the list of movies. Now let's see something. Let's say that we have a list of movies that is empty. Let me come here and say an empty array. And now you're going to see that after the loading GIF is hidden, then we're not being displayed anything. That is because we need to say something about the condition when the movies array is empty. So let's say div here, NgIf, and let's say movies, and I need to check that the movies variable is not undefined. So I will use the question mark here, dot length equal to 0, and here I will say there are no records to display. Now let's go back to Google Chrome, and as you can see we have the loading GIF, and then because the array is empty we have there are no records to display. So let's go back here and let me comment this out because I don't want this, and I will uncomment this, and as you can see we have the loading GIF and the list of movies. So as you can see we have NgIf, which is a functionality that we can use to display content dynamically in the template. Now, just so that we don't have to wait every time we want to load this page, let's go back here and let's change this time to 0.